Now, you want to tell us about the Bilderberg Group, that they actually form a secret world government that controls everything. And if we do the screen share, Jazz, there's a page from your deep dive paper where you make a comment about the Bilderberg Group. You say, um, yeah, I don't know. Can you read that, Gene? Do you want to read that out?
Sure. In actuality, the creation of the Bilderbergers was exactly a creation of the satanic deep state so that they could use the alien technology and resulting needed domes to have a base in which to rule the world in their quote new world order quote in. This has been the long dreamed of rule of the world by the Satanists over humanity, to be done for all time and to literally lock down and forever enslave the human race into 15-minute concentration, slave labor, and adrenochrome harvesting camps. The UN was their second attempt after the League of Nations that was stopped by the Tsar of Russia, which led to the execution of the entire lineage of the good rulers of the Russian homeland. The UN is nothing but the skeleton structure for the one world order, otherwise known as the New World Order. And I will say, Bilderberger Germany is where they came from. It's a bunch of world level bankers and other Satanist creatures.
Okay, so these globalists, they really do have a kind of satanic agenda to just kind of like cut humanity off from any kind of self rule and just make sure that humanity is kind of like concentrated in these slave labor camps and so forth. That's their agenda. Even though on the surface, you have these organizations like the League of Nations, the United Nations, all sounding very positive. So yeah, I guess that explains why Cooper and others were very suspicious of the United Nations.
Yes, and they love to do word games. So you see UN, United Nations, peacekeeping forces, but it also means unpeacekeeping forces. And they quite often, just like NATO, and wherever they go, wars come up, wars result. So we see that now with US aid and what the Doge, Trump, Elon are doing with that. And they say US aid, it's actually not US aid, but the letters stand, for the AID or for something else. But if you break it differently, it said you said. So they play these games like for the I think it's the Grammy Awards, the National Academy of Theater and Cinema. I think it is. There's something for the S at the end. So if you switch the letters around, you get Satan. So this is how they play word games, and they play this on us. So they're doing controlled information release because in their way of understanding, they have to tell you what they're going to do. And if you disregard it, even if they tell you backwards, they still believe they told you. That they have to show you up front. And if you don't do anything or say anything against it, that's tacit consent.
Yeah, it's very diabolical how they do that. Um, you also talk about President Eisenhower and his biggest mistake being to give the Rockefellers control of the alien issue. So I guess Eisenhower was someone that wanted to delegate, and he delegated to the wrong people, and they just kind of ran with the alien issue. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so he actually was a president that met with a group. Unfortunately, he signed with a wrong group at Holloman Air Force Base. And he was the group, the good group, wanted the world to disarm nuclear. And he didn't trust that. And then all the heads of all the governments of the world at that time that were nuclear, which was only, the US and USSR, I believe, at that time, would not go there. So he signed with the other group, which is the Negative Alien Agenda group, and then they started an agreement to have these deep underground bases. They would help us build them, and they would get certain ones and certain levels of certain ones, like Dulce. They would have the lower levels, and that's the story of Phil Snyder talks about how he got burned in a firefight, showed scars on his chest and his shoulder, and lost two fingers on one hand because of that firefight, where they stumbled on a lower level, I believe is what happened, where a section where it was for the Greys. And so he wound up getting pulled out of there. The guy saved his life, but quite several people died in that firefight. And Eisenhower became aware of the rise of the military industrial complex and that this agreement was not being upheld. They were going to be able to abduct and return certain people after the memory wiped them, and they were supposed to let the government of the United States know what people, and they had a number of exact certain ones that could do cow mutilations, but not to mutilate people and do experiments on people and those kind of things. And Eisenhower found out all of that was happening. They broke the treaty in every possible way. So he was threatened to send the U.S. Army to Dulce and also to another base in deep underground facility near Yucca Mountain in Arizona to deal with the group that had broken this, and of course the military industrial complex to find out what's really going on in those dumps.
Called the Trilateral Commission, and in your deep dive paper you discuss their symbol, and here it is on the screen share, this kind of symbol. You want to tell us exactly how is that insignia for the Trilateral Commission related to gray aliens that the Eisenhower administration had made a deal with?
Yeah, so their craft bear the symbol. It's not just the Trilateral Commission, it's also a symbolic rendition of 666, which of course is a number that they favor quite heavily because of its biblical significance. And then now technological significance as well, but it's on their ships. And what it symbolizes for them are the three main groups that most people now know: the Orion Syndicate, the Greys, and the Mantids, I believe it is, are the three main upper groups now. The third group goes in and out of it. So this is a symbol of the three groups of the Orion Syndicate that is the ones that Eisenhower signed with.
Okay. Right. So now there was an agreement with the gray aliens to build underground bases and joint bases for technology exchange. And you do kind of discuss that. I got a part of it highlighted. Do you want to read that highlighted part?
Absolutely. And this is what I was mentioning previously. It was also agreed that bases would be constructed underground for the use of the alien nation, and that two bases would be constructed for the joint use of the alien nation and the United States government. Exchange of technology would take place in the jointly occupied bases. These alien bases would be constructed under Indian reservations in the Four Corners area of Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, and Colorado, and one would be constructed in Nevada, in the area known as S4, located approximately 7 miles south of the western border of Area 51.
Right. So now we know that agreements were reached with aliens, Greys, and underground bases were built where the Greys would conduct some of their experiments.